All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Kevin Vaughn, CEO and founder of the Men Let's Talk Network and so many other things. But I just want to talk to you today on this wonderful subject. Today, I heard some disturbing news, not the first time I've heard it, about people not voting or wanting to vote. And I just wanted to come on here to say a few words. I'm not going to be very long. I'm going to get right to the point. Some in our nation, as you know, we got people all around the world that can vote because they're Americans as well. So they're included. Even if they're overseas, they can still vote by sending in their vote by mail, I believe. So some have forgot why we are here today. We have a system. Now, all this stuff, I'm going to give you some information. I looked up research here. So you can look all this stuff up. Some of you already know it. Some of you know about the background of voting and what happened in the history past, what got us all here today. But some people still don't understand why we need to vote. As a matter of fact, it's a privilege because some countries you don't have a vote. You do whatever they tell you to do or don't do or whatever. You don't have no rights in certain countries. And guys, we need to understand what's going on here today. And we need to educate ourselves, educate our young people, our young adults, all the above, okay? Anybody, now you often call me later on talking about this, anybody who says I'm not voting, we ain't got no good candidates, we ain't doing none of that, you have to rethink that. I'll just say that to be nice. Rethink it, but understand why, okay? So I'm going to give you a little history lesson. And I heard this today on one of the most powerful programs on the planet. I won't give the names because there's so many, but I did hear this information today on a wonderful program that is owned and operated by a wonderful and brilliant Black man. He had put this out there with his team and his panel today. But again, I want to put this out here from my network, the Men Let's Talk Network, which is a family network, not just for men, it's for the entire family. So why should we vote, right? Why should we vote? Okay, I'm going to give you some reasons why. And we got to have these discussions too, guys. We have to have these discussions about why it's important to vote. Now, I know we got family, we got work, businesses, we got time to enjoy your life. We want you to do all of that. But you have to understand the process. Everything on the planet has a process. And once we engage in the process, understand the process, engage in it, we can make changes, updates, revisions, whatever you want to call it. But guys, let me give you some history here, okay? A little bit of history. Now, I'm going to talk about even women and people of color. That's the topic area today, the demographic. Women and the people of color on why we should vote, okay? I'm going to go right down the line. All this stuff can be looked up, okay, at any time. Let's talk about the women's side real quickly, okay? Women at one point in history were denied of legal rights, okay? Women are important. Women are women. Women are human beings, okay? Matter of fact, let me put that out there too. Everybody on the planet is not less than they are, okay? I know our history showed that Black men and women were 3/5 or 1/5, whatever it was. It was a lie, no doubt about that. It's a lie. So nobody on the planet is less than a human being, okay? That's the first thing. Please understand that. You got any problems with that? Give me a call, we'll talk about it. But first of all, that's the stand. Everybody on the planet was created by the Creator. Whether you like it or not, or believe it or not, doesn't matter. It is a fact of life. We did not bring ourselves here, okay? This is very serious for me, guys, because we're not thinking. We are not using our God-given rights and talents and most of all, our brain, okay? So I want you to think about this. So with women, these are the challenges, the errors on why we need to vote. All the things of history come to date on why we need to vote, okay? It accumulates, if you will, all the way up to why we need to vote, okay? This is why. You gotta understand, I'm gonna read some stuff to you here. So with women, they were denied legal rights. They could not vote. Okay, this is women, these powerful, beautiful, awesome, lovely women. I'm married to one, and you guys got to know they couldn't vote at one time, and they should have been wanted to vote because we had people who were racist and whatever you call it, male chauvinists, whatever you want to call them. They were evil people that did not want women's to vote. It had limited property rights. Okay, we know that's pretty much gone away, I think, at least in our nation anyway. Could not serve on juries, right? That's changed. Had limited political representation. We know that has changed as well. So this is why we need to vote. Okay, that's just one area talking about the women. Also, too, in history, guys, this is why we need to vote, folks. It's very serious stuff here. Women advocated for voting rights were often mocked publicly, right? Women were mocked by other men, other women maybe as well. They also were assaulted during protests, right? Arrested for picketing and forced into earning or doing hunger strikes while in prison. So that means they were arrested. Why do we need to vote? I just gave you a few items, okay? You got to understand this is very serious stuff. These are things that people gone through to give us the right to vote. So guys, you got to have the conversation with the family, with the young people on why they need to register, get ready, and also to vote during the proper times, okay, in our nation system, if you will. It's very important, but you got to educate yourself. You got to be educated. You got to be able to read stuff. I will say things like that. So very, very important. Also, too, there was silent sentinel protests as well back in 1917. Many women picketed the White House for voting rights, as you all know. Again, all this is in history. You can look it up. Many were arrested in jail. These were women. This is the women part right here. Women were arrested, guys, for our right to vote today. You understand that? There's people that were arrested, interrupted their lives so that we can vote today. Also, too, ladies and gentlemen, they were beaten. They were dragged, some of them, and choked, right? Some of them were spit on, imprisoned for brutal conditions. You know they're not going to be treated right. These are women now that have fought and died in some cases and got messed up, if you will, with their face, their body, some way, just so we can vote today. Now, I'm talking to people who say, I don't want to vote. I don't think voting is going to help. You better rethink that, okay? That's all I'm saying. This is Kevin Vaughn with the Men Let's Talk Network, and I'm talking for some men, not all men, but just some men that understand what has happened in history, where we must vote, folks. We must vote. Why should you vote? Because women have suffered that, all right? There's a lot of victims that have suffered over the years to get us to where we are today. We're not saying it's perfect today, but we do have a system that allows you to vote if you register and follow the rules, right? Hunger strikes, right? We had hunger strikes and forced feeding. Women went on hunger strikes. They also got force fed through tubes, caused physical trauma. Can you imagine? I can't imagine the mental side of that, guys, being forced trauma on you. Some of them were raped. Some of them were, beaten, had severe emotional suffering. Some were young women that went through the program to get us, for them to vote, but also it benefited all of us, really, when you think about it. So that's another thing. And of course, in 1920, we got the victory, right? It kept going. So in 19th Amendment of the United States Constitution, 1920 was amended, and now women have the legal right. This is why we should vote, folks. You understand why we should vote? Now I'm talking to folks who say, I don't want to vote, shouldn't vote. Hey, my vote don't matter. Yes, it does. It does matter, but you got to understand the process. And I'm going to say something to you, man, because this is what I had to figure out. Stop being so selfish, okay? Stop being selfish. There's a system in place that allows you to change your environment, change your community, change your neighborhood. It may help you where you live, right? In your own home or apartment complex or wherever you're living, right? It don't matter. Voting counts, guys, but you got to understand the process, right, as well. Let's talk about people of color. And there's so much history there on that one, right? So African Americans and people of color had voting rights struggles. Now, I'm just saying this because it's so sad to hear that people are saying, folks, that I don't want to vote. My vote doesn't matter. I ain't doing nothing. I'm going to go sit this one out. No, you can't do that. And main reason why, because people have suffered and died for us to have the right to vote today. So the minimum we do is exercise our right as a respect for history. Okay, that's my point there. So enslaved Africans have no rights, as you guys know, for voting. That's changed. Black Americans were treated as property. You understand that? And there's so much stuff I don't even know about. Can you imagine what people went through just to get the right? Because they knew they were human beings. They knew they had rights. They knew how important they were, especially to the Creator, right? But there's people in our around the world that thought otherwise. All that was a lie. Okay, everybody that hears this is a human being, 100% and more, no doubt about that. So we know about that. Millions endured forced labor, right? Millions strive to family separation. Man, that's a big one for me, man. Can you imagine going after the right to vote, to have a voice, and your family's taken away from you? Man, I don't know if I would have survived that one, man, mentally. To have your family taken away from your children, your wife beaten maybe right in front of you, and there's nothing you could have did about it, right? Only because you want to be a man, you want to be a woman, you want to be recognized as a person so you can have the right to vote like anybody else. So we talk about that, right? So also too, they had methods that included trying to keep us out was literally literacy tests. They put tests out there that probably they couldn't even pass themselves, right? They tried to do literacy tests to keep us out of voting. Poll taxes, right, to keep us out of voting. Grandfather clauses to keep us out of voting. Intimidation to keep us out of voting. And violence as well. This is why we should vote. Come on, people. This is why we need to vote today and continue to fight the battle to keep those rights for all Americans, specifically Americans. I'm talking about USA, right? So they were beaten, burned. I can't imagine, man. More than 4,000 African Americans were lynched between 1800s and 1900s. That is no joke, folks. There is a museum, I believe it's in Montgomery, Alabama, that I visited, and it showed the number of people who were lynched in that state. You understand that, folks? It's very serious stuff. And this is all for them fighting for us to have the right. One of the fights was to have the right to vote and to be recognized as a human being. This is very serious, folks. They were beaten, burned, mutilated, right? Murdered publicly. You know, some of you know about the hangings, right? Hangings, public hangings. Lord have mercy on their souls for those who did that. I'm sure some of them recognize that now that have gone on. I'm sure they understand what they did wrong in that area. Voting rights activists were murdered, right? You know that as a fact. Y'all can look all this up. Key civil rights martyrs, right? We know martyrs were there. Medgar Evers, assassinated in 1963. This is why we got to vote, folks. This man died for us to have the right to vote today. So we have no excuse and we should have no reason not to. But I understand it because some people have not got the history lesson, right? If you don't know the history, you're going to do whatever you want. So I'm just saying, do your history, do your homework. And I know they're not teaching it in school fully, I'll say, and even at the higher levels. So today you can Google, you can research everything I'm talking about, folks. This is why we should vote, because people were murdered, folks, shot by state troopers. People were shot. Mr. Jimmy Lee Jackson is on the list here. 1965 was shot, guys. James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, Michael Swartzen, murdered during Freedom Summer, 1964. This is why we need to vote, folks. These people died for our right and trying to get their right to vote and other rights as well. You got to understand, folks, we are human beings. We are not 3/5, 1/5, half, whatever. I don't care if you call it 99.9. No, we are 100% people of color, and the human race is 100% human, period. Now, whether you like that or not, that's okay. You have your opinion about that. We respect that, no doubt about it. Bloody Sunday. This is why we need to vote, folks. Selma to Montgomery marches. Most of you know about that as well. Broken bones, skull fractures. Man, that has to be fixed, right? Through a hospital. Somebody's got to attend to that, right? I mean, somebody had to pay the bill. Beatings, tear gas attacks, just for our right to vote. Folks, we have to have the conversation. Why should we vote? I'm reading you some. Do your homework. Do not take this lightly. People have died, beaten, mutilated. People have had their families taken from them. Houses burned down. Everything gone. They had to move from different parts of the country because they couldn't get the right thing going so they could vote. But they had to save their lives. But some people lost their lives. Native Americans also. I'm talking about people of color. We talk about women as well. Challenges included citizenship denial. These are our Indians, right? Native Indians were forced with major barriers as well. And you know some of that's still going on today. Just incredible. How dare you people do that to people in our nation and in our history. But it is what it was, right? And we got to continue to fight. This is why we should vote. State restrictions, right? Where this is for the Native Americans. So keep in mind that America was not discovered. We had Indians here before that, before somebody came over and figured out where they were, right? So, but anyway, I digress. State restrictions, language barriers, right? Land, location barriers. We know how that all went to. This is why we vote, so people don't get a chance to steal your land just because they can do it. Indian Citizenship Act. This is all, I'm not going to give you all the details. Citizens Act, where they didn't have the rights to do certain things. This is why we vote, folks. Also, to grant citizens to Native Americans, but states still block Native voting for decades, even after. And we know that's still in process today. This is why you vote, right? This is why you get educated. This is why you do your research, right? And stop being lazy. Now, I used to be there. I didn't always, this is years ago, because I didn't really think about the process too much. But you have to understand what the process is, the impact of the process, and how it will impact you and your family, but also too your children, right? And guess what? Your children's children, and also your grandchildren, all the above, folks. This is very serious. It impacts from A to Z, everything: water bill, light bill, electric, your taxes, gas bill, all the above. So voting counts, folks, but you do need to understand the process, right? So important. Also, we talk about women and people of color, U.S. Asian Americans, right? Latinos, right? Communities face citizenship restrictions, language discrimination, segregation, right? We know about that, and voting intimidation, telling us we don't need to vote. You shouldn't vote. You don't know how to vote. How dare you do that? So our goal today is just to let you know we need to educate ourselves, educate others, and vote. This is very serious. And folks, why I got this up here today, I found out about this. There's a documentary that gives you a little history lesson, okay? It's called Eyes on the Prize. Heard that today on a powerful program today. It's a documentary on YouTube, Eyes on the Prize. I downloaded it today so I can listen to it later, but American Civil Rights Years. So if you don't know the history, I highly recommend you sit down around the table with the television and look at that with the family and have a conversation. Now, we're not telling you that you have to do that. I'm just saying, take some time and please have a conversation about voting, because people have died, people got hurt, people's lives were disrupted. I'm sure they didn't want to have to go through that, but they did. So I could vote today. So you can vote tomorrow or whenever, wherever the voting is going on throughout the years to come and months to come. We have to vote, folks. And nothing else is respect. Respect for my mom and dad, respect for my grandparents, my great-grandparents, all the things they had to go through just to get the right to vote or to push the envelope so we can have the right. Now, they may not have been able to vote, but they gave us the right to vote through their actions and things that they could do back in the day, as you can imagine, right? They can only do so much, but they kept pushing, right? They kept pushing. And we also thank God for all the advocates and all those who are doing that today for us as well, keeping us up to date and especially in the government as well, but also all those around the globe that are advocates for the right to vote and the right to have a voice in our system, right, that we call democracy, right, as well. So the Voting Rights Act, I'll read a few more here. Types of abuse. This is why we need to vote, folks, because people went through abuse and oppression. I'm just going to read a few. Arrests, of course, they got arrested. They got beat. Again, lynchings. That is unfathomable. I can't imagine. Just incredible. Lynching, assassinations, right? People getting shot. Imprisonment, of course, force feeding. I'm sure people got poisoned and all kind of crazy stuff. Economic retaliation as well, keeping us out of the money. Threats of intimidation, right? Intimidating my daughter or my son or my children or my wife. All that they went through, folks. This is why we vote. This is why we vote. If nothing else, we respect what they have fought for to get us to where we're at today. So there's no excuse. I'm just encouraging you. I'm just real excited about this because, and I'm trying to hold my peace here a little bit because we have people who are still saying, I don't want to vote. I don't think we should vote. My vote doesn't matter. Do your homework. Understand people died and took their lives in a different direction than they wanted for us to vote today. So if nothing else, we must respect that and get out of your own self, folks. I had to do it. Get out of your own self. Think about others. Think about the system. Learn the system. Educate yourself about the system and get out and vote. There's a lot of people that will help you in that area, right? We have a lot of advocates around the country. They are very brilliant, smart people. They know the system. If you have questions, ask questions. Ask all the questions you want, but get registered and learn how to vote for yourself, right? But understand the process. Everything is a process. Who wants to be controlled, right? I can't say any, I heard it today. You can't say anything about what happened to the system if you didn't vote, right? Now, come on, guys, we're not perfect, right? Our system's not perfect. But guess what? We have a system, pretty much the best system on the planet, where you have the freedom to vote. And that's trying to be erased or eroded or minimized, right? And we got to make sure that doesn't happen, folks, because everybody has a right to be a participant in the system, in the process. Your voice, in other words, needs to be heard. So that was one of them. Intimidation. Another area was poll taxing, right? For us. Segregation, right? We know about that for people of color. Major milestones that happened over time. This is all in history, right? 1870, the 15th Amendment, right? 1920, 19th Amendment. These are things that have changed because people fought. They kept going. They said, this is not going to happen. They kept going. Regardless if they were sick or not sick, they kept going. 1924, Indian Citizens Act. 1965, Voting Act, right? They kept going. You guys know about the history there. Some of you do, right? So there was a lot of things that went on behind the scenes. Protests, right? All those protests. This is why we got to vote, folks. The right to protest, right? We have a right to protest, but you have to understand the process. Activism, right? Again, I take my hats off to every active person on the planet that advocates for the good things for our nation, where people can enjoy the fruits of their labor. They get fair wages, all the above, folks. So I take my hats off to all the advocates that fight and understand laws. I also, oh man, definitely got to give my hats off to all the lawyers, right? All the lawyers and doctors and people who really understand the system from a legal standpoint. Thank you so much for that, because you guys are brilliant and you help us understand the process more so we can have an impact to the process. So ask questions, folks. Ask your lawyer about certain things. There's lawyers all over the civil rights system, guys, that helps us stay on top of things and understand what's going on. So ask questions. Legal battles, we know about that, right? Courts are full of them today. I don't even know how many legal battles are going on right now, but I'm sure there's thousands of them going on right now. Civil disobedience, right, as well, and personal sacrifice. People are interrupting their lives so that we can vote, have the right to vote, and that's trying to be eroded. It's trying to be eroded as we speak, folks. So when I heard that today, that people are saying, I don't want to vote, don't need to vote, my vote doesn't matter. That is not correct. All I can encourage you to do is think. Just think about it, okay? Think about it and get out of yourself. Okay, I said it. Get out of your own self and think about other people. Because I'm going to tell you, folks, the system will impact every part of your life if you're not engaged in it to help change it. Don't like it? You can go help change it, right? And guess what? If you're not voting, you have no say in nothing. That's part of our community, right? You can't say anything if you have not voted. You can complain all day, but still at the end of the day, you have to get things done. Folks, it's about impact. It's about action and taking action. Very important. I can complain all day, and then somebody say, well, have you voted? I said, nope. Well, guess what? You have no say. And they'll probably walk away and just say, hey, something's wrong with that guy. He's not even voting. He's not even involved, but he's complaining a lot. So in other words, folks, stop complaining, understand the process, get registered, and get to work, okay? Because it affects not only you, but it affects our whole community. Today, I'm talking to women and also people of color that are being affected by the voting system, which we have, which is pretty good, but it gets challenged, and some people are trying to change and cheat the rules as well, as you know. But guess what? We have to be smarter than that. We have to overwhelm the system through voting. That's the only way I know you do that, is through voting. But guess what, guys? We can no longer say, I'm sitting this one out. I'm not voting, because it's not part of the system. You're not going to get what you want over time. And guess what? You may not get everything you want, but you're going to be a participant in understanding that. Also, two guys talked about this documentary I heard today, Eyes on the Prize, if you want to know some history. Because people want to know, why are you doing all this, Kev? Because people have died, hurt, lost families, lost property, and it affects the whole tree of our family, right? There's people that were spit on, they were cursed at, they were shot. We had men that were hung, women that were hung, women that were raped. I can't even imagine, folks, seeing your family member shot right in front of you and you can't do nothing about it. Those things happen in history because men said, I'm tired of this. Women said, I'm tired of this. We are a human being and we want to vote. And there's people that in our system, in our nation, that didn't want that, but they're still fighting. And we're still fighting that today, folks. So that's why we need to vote. So the reason why I want to come on here is to honor all those who've gone before us about the power of the vote, power of change, power of activism, and all the above. This is very serious, folks. So please start with your family members, right? Make sure your family members that can vote, young adults, have an understanding of the history. That's probably the best part. You got to understand the why. Somebody asks you, why am I voting? Why do I need to vote? You got to be able to tell them. So this is very serious, folks. Give them the why. Give them the history. Everything's on YouTube, man. You can YouTube everything. You can research everything. The Library of Congress is online. You can Wikipedia all of this stuff. No excuse for hearing the history of the vote, of why we wanted to vote and why we wanted to be treated. We're talking about women and people of color, why they wanted to have their voices heard, because they were important to themselves, they were important to us, and they're important to our nation. Sometimes our nation doesn't understand that, right? It's very selfish. There's some selfish people out there, but we're going to change that too as well. And we change that through the voting system as well. So guys, I want to encourage you. This is Kevin Vaughn with the Men Let's Talk Network. This is a special edition. I heard today about people not wanting to vote. My vote doesn't count. I'm setting this one out. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Okay? So if you got any problems with that, give me a call. I'll be glad to professionally and legally talk to you about it as well. But it's very, very serious, folks. The documentary, Eyes on the Prize, check it out. Also, to get registered, talk to your family members, talk to your employees, talk to your base, right? Your people that you're with, talk to your family. A lot of you have family reunions. This should be brought up. Every person in your family should be registered to vote. Now, of course, we can't force people to vote. We just want to encourage you to do that. Can't force people to register either, right? Can't do that. Can't do none of that. But our purpose is just to let you know the why. Know that people died for this, right? For us. They didn't see it, but they've died for it, folks. They knew something was going to change. How many times have you heard our ancestors say, hey, it's going to change one day. We may not be here, but we're going to keep pushing, right? So Curtis Mayfield says, keep on pushing. So guys, we got to keep pushing. And the way you do that is through the vote. So guys, this is Kevin Vaughn. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure, well, I know this made some sense for some of you out there as well, but it's so important to have the conversation. Understand the why. Understand that our ancestors died for this, man. Woo! Died that we have the right and be recognized to be able to vote, to be able to have a voice, to say certain things, to change things that are needed to be changed, and also work together as a humanity, for our own communities, our own counties, state, federal governments, and beyond, folks. Just incredible. Well, guys, thank you so much. Love to hear the feedback on this. Again, there's a documentary, guys, on YouTube, Eyes on the Prize. That gives you some history of the civil rights movement. And it's not just for African Americans, it was for really all people to be equal in this area, right? Very important to know that. It's for women and men all across the network, all across the globe as well. So we thank you so much. And I take my hats off again to the lawyers, the advocates, all those who are versed in the laws and the understanding of the Voting Rights Act. We just thank you so much because somebody has to tell us that. There's a lot of great programming out there now that will give you facts and information about why it's important to vote today. So guys, I want to challenge all the men on the planet, all the men in the United States, if you're not registered, get registered, okay? Tell your sons and your daughters to register, but give them the background, right? Give them the why. Don't just tell them to vote. You know, they're going to say, well, what do I need to vote for? You need to give them some history, right? Give them some background. So guys, thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome. Continue to be about the Father's business, folks. Not only do we pray, as you probably heard, folks, you can pray. We pray all the time, but faith without works is dead. You understand that? And faith without works is dead. So continue to pray, but get to work. I love it because they don't pay me if I don't go to work, folks. I'm going to tell you that much. They do not pay you if you don't go. You can pray all day, fast, whatever you want to do. If you ain't working, you're not going to get a paycheck. So pray without ceasing, folks, and continue to work the system. Vote, vote, vote. Thank you so much, folks. This has been Kevin Vaughn, engineer, consultant, podcast host, advocate for everything good for the people. And we just thank you so much for your time. God bless you guys. Appreciate you guys. Hey, give me some feedback, guys. Let me know what you think. Again, do your research, know the why, and this is why we should vote, folks. You are the reason why we should vote, because you matter, I matter, and others matters that we love and appreciate as well. Take care, everybody. We'll see you. Bye-bye.